chapter 18, verse 1 to 11, talks about the betrayal and arrest of Jesus Christ in Gethsemane, right? Now, what is that? How is that relevant to our life today? Right? Okay? So I just have a few points. No, we are invited to be like Christ. Isn't that so?
Yeah.
We ought to be Christ-like. And as Christ went through his journey, we have to go through a similar journey. Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, as we go through this journey, we'll experience some of the things you would see in this story, right? We will experience betrayal.
Yeah.
Right. But remember, we are such egocentric people, meaning that we so think of ourselves. We might be tempted to think that, okay, somebody's going to betray us. But we also have to be careful. We have to look at it from the other angle. Are we going to betray others? Have you looked at it from that angle? So we might think, oh yeah, I'm going to embark on this journey, this Christ-like journey, and I will be betrayed. Right? But remember, in so much as we want to be Christ-like, we are also human. And we have human weaknesses. Just as Christ came on earth to be human and experience the frailty of human existence, we are already in our human existence, and we're trying to be like Christ. So, inherent in us is that human weakness. The Bible says we are born in sin, right?
Amen.
And by very nature, sin is our weakness. Okay, so we will be betrayed, but we can also run the risk of betraying others. Okay, so that's something we have to guard our spirit against. All right? Now, the other thing we have to pay attention to is that although we are in company and we are in fellowship, the journey, the Christ-like journey, is a lonely journey. Are you with me?
Amen.
It's something we have to go through alone. And this is highlighted in this story. Right? Jesus was betrayed. And when he was betrayed, right, were his disciples betrayed? Were they arrested? No. Christ was the one that went through that betrayal and the arrest. He was the only one that was arrested. All right? Okay? Now, we will betray, or we will be betrayed by people that are close to us.
Yeah.
They're the only people that could betray us.
Yeah.
They are the only people that know our secrets.
It's true.
Right? The only people that know our experiences. Right? And likewise, we could betray others because we hold the same keys. Right? So, we will see that we will be betrayed by our friends and our loved ones. Okay? Okay. Now, under betrayal also, we'll see that, okay, when Jesus was in the garden, he was arrested, right? Peter, I don't know where Peter got his sword from, as we say in the Caribbean, he pulled out the cutlass. We don't know where he got it from, but he chopped off the guy's ear, the slave's ear, right? So, our friends will try to fight our battles first. Right? Right or wrong. So we have to be careful that they do not fight the battle in the wrong way. Because remember, Jesus' battle here was not physical, but spiritual. Now Peter pulled out his sword and he started chopping. That's a physical way of fighting a battle. What did Jesus do? Right? He told him put it away. And he proceeded, well, this story does not say it, but he proceeded to heal the ear of the slave. So Jesus continued to manifest and to show us the way that we are expected to do things. So Peter's version of fighting for Christ was wrong. It was the spiritual, the physical way, right? Jesus fought his battle with patience, understanding, love, and forgiveness. Right? So, let's move on to the other theme that we see evident in this story. All right. Now, when Jesus was brought before the high priest, right, he was questioned on certain things. He was accused of certain things. Isn't there a parallel in our life when we become Christ-like, Christians, believers, followers of Christ? We are constantly being questioned. We are constantly being challenged, right? We are constantly being tested, right? I had my testing this morning, right? I got up with a headache, first of all. So I had to deliver the Sunday school today. I got up with a headache. I don't feel like doing it anymore, right? Okay, but I got myself organized. And Denzel, we said we're going to make sure we leave early to get here early. Stepping out of the door, I slammed my finger in the door. Oh. Right? Now at first I thought it was like, I thought my finger was broken, you know, it was bleeding and all of that. I just started ignoring it, you know. At first I said, I was like holding it down. It was really hurting. The blood started draining out. You know, forgot about it. Let's go to church. I'll find something to clean. Denzel was very concerned, you know. But then I said, no, it's nothing. It's good. Ignore it. So that was my testing. That's why I told you it's a victorious day, because when we realize or come to the realization that we'll be tested on a physical level, right? The human body is weak. Our spiritual strength is what carries us, right? Our conviction, right? We are ordained to do certain things. Sometimes the body will fail, right? But the Spirit carries us through. All right? Am I making sense? Okay? So, our faith will be questioned. We'll be prosecuted. Even though we know what we're saying and doing is the right thing, right? Is what is expected of us by Christ, as followers of Christ. There's some things that we need to do. But we still be persecuted. One of the fantasies that some Christians have is that once you turn your life over to God, everything is smooth and your life becomes a bed of roses. But that is when you are now open to spiritual attacks as well as physical attacks, right? So Jesus' journey through that should be an example of how we should proceed. Now, Jesus didn't get mad and start cursing the high priest, and even though he was right did not bring might. It didn't mean might. He was very dignified, humble. He answered the questions. He didn't command an army to come and destroy them because they persecuted him. It was expected. The persecution was expected. Okay? Now, we as Christians need to know who we are. In an example, Christ knew who he was. Right? Didn't he? He knew why he was there. He knew his purpose. And even his human heart cried out against the injustices. He was still on point. He was still focused on his job. The Father sent me to do this. Father, take this away from me. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's your will. Let your will be done. Can we identify with situations like these? First instance, we tempted to give up. I can't deal with this thing, man. But then, you know, that's a human reaction and it's expected. So don't feel ashamed or embarrassed if you have that feeling to give up. That's your human reaction. It's what happens afterwards that's important. You quickly overcome the human, initial reaction, and your spiritual faith kicks in. And you tell yourself, okay, yeah, I'm expecting this persecution. Spirit gives me the will and the strength to deal with it. And with that, I could deal with anything. Isn't that so? Amen. So we see all of this in this story, right? Now, denial and betrayal, don't mix them up. Right? Denial. Now, Peter denies Christ. Peter was one of the closest disciples of Christ, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
He's the one, I think, that had a better understanding of Christ's mission on earth at that time. Would you say? But yet, Peter denied Christ. 3 times. 3 times. Okay? So, Peter's reaction was purely human. When danger lurks, or danger is evident, the first reaction is to run away.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, that is a built-in human condition, you know. Right? You ever heard of adrenaline? It's called the flight or fright. It causes you to either stand up and fight or take flight. Now that's a human survival device. If there's something you can't deal with or you don't understand, take off. He who fights and runs away lives to fight another day. Right? So Peter's first reaction when danger was to fight. Right? He pulled out his sword and he started to fight. Afterwards now, when he realized, Lord, as we say in the Caribbean, water more than flour, he decided, well, he didn't decide, it's just reaction. Hey, I'm going to take off, right? But you know, in all of that, Peter was still loyal, you know. He was following Christ at a distance, right?
Yeah.
Observing what was going on. So he didn't really take off physically, but mentally, he was off. The difference between the betrayal and denial is that Peter still came back. After a while, after he betrayed Christ the 3rd time, how was he feeling? He felt guilty. So guilt is like conviction. He was convicted. He realized that he was doing something wrong. Right? Betrayal, on the other hand, most times is just continue going. But even betrayal has his degree of remorse, you know. But even Judas, after he betrayed Christ, he was remorseful, right? But how did he deal with it? That's the question. Right? Peter came back. He was humble, and he came back, and he was sorrowful. Genuinely sorrowful. So he was humble, and he was sorrowful. Judas, his stuff was more selfish. Because although he was remorseful, did he come back 360 and confess? No, he went off and killed himself. So yes, sometimes we are sorry about things, but we are sorry not because we want to reconcile with the person that we betrayed or we denied, but we are sorry because of the consequences to ourselves. Right? Which is not genuine. We're only sorry because we got caught.
Yeah.
I always tell somebody, some people say, oh, the crime, they said somebody robbed somebody and they're convicted of a crime. What's the real crime? Is a crime what they did? Or is a crime being caught? A lot of times you see people being remorseful, they're crying. But why are they crying?
Because they're caught.
They're caught. They're not sorry for what they really did. Okay? So that's another theme we could pick up in this story. Right? So true friends, they may betray us, they may deny us, right? But they will always come back because they are in the same spirit as we are. So you might find people within the church that may betray us. They might say something, they might betray a secret that you entrusted in them. But if they come back and genuinely apologize, you know they're in the same spirit, right? But when people try to justify what they did, and they only try to escape the consequences of their action, we could recognize that they're not in the same spirit with us, and we could behave accordingly. We could forgive them, but we know we don't want to keep company with them, right? They said that if you keep company with pigs, you're going to get dirty, right? If you play with dogs, you get fleas. So you would suffer the same consequences as they would, right? So we move on to the next part, which says, look at Jesus in Pilate's court. Now, in that part of the story, Jesus is now before the authorities, earthly authorities, right? Who are your earthly authorities? People at work, the people in politics, positions of government, right? Different institutions, right? Now, as Christians, we are constantly being tested. We said that before, right?
Yeah.
We will be accused of stuff. Wrongfully, whether wrongfully or rightfully, but we will be accused of stuff, right? In this part of the story, Jesus is now before Pilate. Pilate asked him some questions. Jesus answered the question, right? Asked him if he's the king of the Jews. Jesus said, you said I'm the king of the Jews, whatever, whatnot, right? Pilate tested Jesus and found that Jesus was innocent.
Yeah.
Right? Yet, he was still prosecuted.
Yeah.
Right? So Pilate accepted the fact that Jesus was innocent. I find nothing to wrong with this man.
Exactly.
Right? Yet, Jesus was still punished. Right? And these are some of the trials that we would face in our journey to parallel Christ's life. Right? We will be found innocent. People in the heart will know that these are good people. These are people walking the walk of faith. And these are people who are genuinely followers of Christ and believers. Yet, because of popular beliefs and popular demand, we will still be prosecuted. Haven't you experienced this?
Yes. Yes.
Because it's easier for people to go the way of popularity than to go the way that's right. So people in the heart know. So you're on a job and you said, okay, listen, I'm not going to work on Sunday because that's my Sabbath and I have to go to church. In the heart, people know that, okay, this is a genuine sentiment, right? Genuine action. But to appease other people, they would still say something that is negative. You know what? I don't believe what you're saying. You don't believe. You believe. You're just using that as an excuse to not to work. Have you experienced that? Right? So this is another thing we'll experience in our journey with Christ. We will know, it will be known that we are innocent, but we will still be treated as if we were guilty. Right? Now, in the last section of this story, Jesus was replaced. Barabbas was replaced for Jesus, or Jesus took Barabbas' place. Now, this might sound like a simple exchange, right? A prisoner exchange, right? But we know physically the consequences of Jesus taking Barabbas' place. Jesus is going to die. Excuse me.
Yeah.
You guys are so quiet. Jesus is going to die. Okay? How many of us are willing to intercede on the behalf of our friends, our sinful friends? How many of us are willing to take their place? How many of us are willing to stand in the gap for them? Right? No greater has No greater love has any man